Guys, it happened. It happened. The CEO of Bungie, Pete Parsons, is retiring. Turns out he had enough cars after all. This guy, if you don't remember this guy, this guy, after laying off a bunch of people at Bungie, it was revealed that he had spent $2.4 million in cars over the course of 2 years. He just went crazy. And I'm somebody, if you earn a lot of money, you make a successful company and you just want to spend it on cars, that's your right. I just get to make fun of you for it. And honestly, at this point, like, your company's headed into the dumpster and then you're spending your money like that frivolously while laying people off. It's just a bad look and people are going to call you a sociopath as a result of it. But he now is officially retiring on the eve of what was supposed to be the launch of their next new IP, Marathon. Retirement is usually corpo speak for fired. The term I use is I usually say they're welcomed to retire. They're welcomed to leave. It's what I think happened with Jim Ryan. Because what happened is, like, Hiroki Totoki comes in, he does a comprehensive review of PlayStation's profitability, and within a matter of weeks, it's announced that Jim Ryan is retiring. And I'm like, and right as he retires, they announce the cancellation of a bunch of projects that he specifically greenlit and spent billions on. It's like, sounds like you didn't retire. It sounds like you were forced out, but okay. And it's basically, they start to get rumblings. He has a meeting with the CEO or with whoever, from PlayStation. They say, listen, this isn't working. We're going to need to shake up leadership and, we're taking control of the company now. So you can leave yourself or we can fire you. And they can save face and retire and go off into the sunset acting like they didn't get fired, when if they didn't retire, they would have been fired separately. What they announced, though, what Bungie said was, instead of saying, hey, our CEO just quit, they said, we are proud to announce that Justin Truman will be stepping up as Bungie's new studio head, and Pete Parsons retires from his position to pass the torch to a new generation of leaders. And if we look at their statement, to the Bungie community, after more than 2 decades of helping build this incredible studio, establishing the Bungie Foundation, and growing inspiring communities, don't hate me, I started a charity. I have decided to pass the torch. This journey has been the honor of a lifetime. I'm deeply proud of the worlds we've built together and the millions of players who call them home. And most of all, I'm privileged by the opportunity to work alongside the incredible minds at Bungie. When I was asked to lead Bungie in 2015, my goal was to grow us into the studio capable of creating and sustaining iconic, generation-spanning entertainment. We've been through so much together. We launched a bold new chapter of Destiny, built an inevitable independent live ops organization capable of creating and publishing its own games, and joined the incredible family at Sony Interactive Entertainment. Today marks the right time for a new beginning. The future of Bungie will be in the hands of a new generation of leaders, and I am thrilled to announce Justin Truman will be stepping into leadership as the new studio lead. I have worked alongside Justin for many years. His passion for our games, our team, our players is unmatched, and as a leader in engineering, production, and design, and most recently as the general manager of Destiny 2 and chief development officer, he has been instrumental in bringing some of the most memorable moments in Bungie's history to life. He lives and breathes this studio, and I have full confidence that he is the right person to lead Bungie forward. Thank you for being the best, most passionate community in gaming. It's been a privilege to serve you. As for me, I'll be second star to the right and straight on until morning. You're gonna go where all the children are? You're gonna go find a bunch of lost boys? Should we call someone, or should we do something? I don't know. Then there's a weird self-report. Yeah. So then there's a statement from Justin. Okay. Cool. That's something. Dude, these comments are cracked. The unfortunate part is he ran this company and game Destiny into the ground a long time ago. Damage is done and likely irreversible. Judging by the replies to it and in here, he really won't be missed. Yeah. Other people saying they need to, just an hour ago, people were calling for him to quit. Oh man. Yeah, I think he got word that they were going to clean house on the executive level, so he bailed. I think that's what happened. I think so. Yeah. Tailored randomly posted this. Bungie lays off 17% of its workforce. This was July of last year. Unrelated, here's a list of cars the CEO has purchased. Then this was the page. And this was his account. After he was revealed to be this guy, he stopped buying through this account, likely just making another account. But these are some of the cars that he bought. As you can see, 60,000, 33,000, 200,000, 79,000, 5,600, 40,000, 5,000, 47,000, 46,000, 64,000, 42,000, 201,000, $97,000, $91,000, $235,000, $22,000, $140,000, $205,000, $102,000, $95,000, and this is all within the span of about a year. Like, just saying, like, he ran the company into the ground and milked it for all it was worth, and now he's retiring into the sunset where he can drive his $200,000 cars around for fun, and he doesn't have to deal with any of the consequences of his actions. He just gets to retire and have fun. So yeah. It's, again, I respect somebody who makes a lot of money, spends it how they want. But again, part of that is that we get to make fun of you. And when you're also simultaneously running your company into the ground, so much so that Sony is having to like significantly restructure it. It looks like this new IP you've spent years building is dead on arrival. All of your revenue is dropping. They missed revenue targets last year by 50%. Like when you are seriously driving your company into the ground, but you're still finding time and money to do these types of things, it certainly brings into question where your focus is. Because I would bet you he wasn't just bidding on those cars. After work, he's probably spending a good amount of time in his office looking up the cars and just researching them, seeing what he wants to buy. You know, if only Destiny were made of classic cars, maybe he would have put more effort into it. You never know. Which car do I think he drove away in? That's a good question. I like imagining that he drove off in this. Fine, I quit. And then the whole time he's just screams singing, I did it my way. I hope that's what happened. That's what we are establishing canonically. That's the lore. That's what we're doing. Yeah, I think no matter which way you twist it, Sony screwed up because they should have never paid $3.7 billion for Bungie. That was ridiculous. Never made sense to anybody. I think even Bungie was surprised they were willing to spend $3.7 billion on them. I think most likely what happened is they went to a table and they sat across from each other, the Bungie guys and the Sony guys, and they said, so, Sony goes, we're interested in buying your company. Bungie says, fantastic. We would love to sell to you. What are you offering? And they've been talking to each other, the Bungie guys, and they're like, we're probably worth like 1 billion, maybe a little bit less, like 800 million to $1 billion. So if they throw out anything close to there, we'll take it. Okay. So million or $1 billion max, 800 million low. Okay. What are your offers, Mr. Sony? How about, this is Jim Ryan. How about $3 billion? Is that fair? And the Bungie guys are just, can we just have a minute to talk about it? And Jim Ryan's like, okay. How about $3.5 billion? They're like, $3.5 billion. Sorry, just 1 second to talk to you. You drive a hard bargain. $3.7 billion. Like, okay, fine, sure. I think they were just as shocked that they were willing to throw so much money at them for Bungie. I don't think they had any idea. And I think what we see across the entirety of the PS5 gen is Sony spending way too much money for things across the board. Like, the idea that Concord cost hundreds of millions of dollars is unconscionable for any other company, but Sony somehow managed to do it. or spending billions on Bungie, spending tens or in most likely hundreds of millions of dollars on all these other live service projects that are canceled and never see the light of day, like The Last of Us Online, like the God of War live service game they were working on, the new IP from Sony Bend. And so it makes sense to me that maybe it was just Sony being Sony and thinking that they could just throw money at the problem. I think that they saw Microsoft spending billions on acquisitions and they said, okay, so if we just throw money at stuff, that will fix it. And it's like, no, you have to be pretty precise with where you throw money. You don't get to just throw it wherever. Like, you got to be pretty precise with it. Yeah, exactly, Mike. It was step 1, spend billions. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit. That literally was like the extent of it, it seems. Because in order, like whenever in school we did the valuations on acquisitions and stuff, I remember we had one project, I think it was first semester senior year. We did a project on acquisitions, and it was basically like we were put in a position with our team of running a company, and then it was like, okay, you have these acquisition opportunities, look at them, run the numbers, and come back to the teacher, and you're going to present to the teacher in the class which acquisition makes the most sense for your company, if one makes sense at all. And so we ran the numbers, and for every single purchase, there should be an ROI. You should be like, hey, how much money are we going to get back out of this? How long will it take us to make our money back? Are there strategic benefits? Like, us buying these guys prevents the competition from getting them. So that is worth something in and of itself, even if it's not like direct cash value. It's still tangible in some way. Or it's not tangible, but it's still, you know, there. And so we did this presentation, we ran through all of that, and it feels like literally none of this even entered into the equation with the Bungie stuff. It's like, well, throw some billions at them and they'll make Marathon, and that will probably be the next Destiny, which will run for another decade, so that should make a lot of money. And then we have this other new project from them that'll probably do well. And it just feels like they gut vibed it. Like they just were like, what's the gut check? What's the vibe? Is the vibe good? Okay, lock it in. And that was like the extent of it. It's just dumb, dude. It's just dumb. I think this is probably good news. I think this is probably good news because it means that one guy we know is bad at his job is out, and a new guy who might be bad at his job, but might also be good at, or better, you know, he'll be put in charge. At the very least, it can't really get worse. You know, it can't really get worse. They're a company overrun with scandal after scandal after scandal, and they have had leadership that largely seems AFK and just totally uninterested. And the one thing, maybe this is too specific, but do you guys remember when they did the Marathon developer stream right after the like art theft scandal? This was like a day or two after, and they forced Joe Ziegler, the game director, and Cross. They forced them on camera to sit there and take questions from the audience trying to talk about this game, but they couldn't use gameplay footage because it was all filled with stolen art. So they had to just sit there on camera for an hour. Jonathan Cross, thank you. For an hour talking about the game, and they can't show footage or anything specific. They just have to sit there. Like, it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my life. But I really think, yeah, the stream was uncomfortable to watch, but I think exactly what you just said, Bex, is correct. Humiliating. I think that's what it was. I think that is specifically what it was. And we said at the time, why would leadership let them out to do this? Why would you don't have anything to share. You can't say anything. Even if you do say something really cool about the game, nobody cares right now because all anybody's talking about is this art theft stuff. They should have canceled this and be like, listen, we hear you, we're working on it. And especially these guys didn't do anything wrong. Ziegler came in reportedly like years after the original art theft was done. So did Jonathan, as far as we understand it right now. He was not the one that like stole the art. It was somebody that was underneath him that stole it and left the company later. And I think you're right, Core. It was like executives at the studio punishing them for being in charge of the project. And it was like this weird sort of flex humiliation thing of like, you're going to sit there and you're going to take it. You're going to take all the hate. You're going to read that live chat. We remember I'm sure you remember all too well some of those chats, the side chats. It was hard to watch. It was really, really hard to watch, honestly. But I think that was part of the point, is they wanted to, the executives that let them up there or forced them up there, were trying to make an example of them. And I think it's just so shameful. It was honestly kind of gross. Because these guys, as far as we can tell, didn't do anything wrong. It was literally somebody that doesn't even work there anymore and said that they did this work that they didn't actually do. But then the executives forced them to go on camera and sit there for an hour. And that's just so slimy to me. You notice the CEO of the company, who's now retired, he didn't go on camera. He didn't go on camera to apologize or say anything. No. It's Joseph Cross. Okay, Joseph, not Jonathan. Okay. But that's what I'm saying, though, is like, I think that this was yet another example of how dysfunctional the leadership was. This guy that just retired from Bungie acting like everything was great and beautiful. You know, we did so many amazing things together. He did not step up when this scandal was going down. No, he probably hopped on his little scooter and rode home and got drunk on $800 bottles of wine, and he was totally fine while he forced those guys to go on camera and be humiliated in front of all of the rest of the internet. I think that's what happened. Went home, turned off his phone, and chilled. Yeah, because he's set for life. He doesn't care. A real leader would have gone up there, sat on that couch, sent them home, or said, if you really want to be there, you can be there. But I'm going to face the music for this because as the leader of this company, I'm ultimately responsible for it. I think it's just so shameful. That's why I have no love lost for this dude. I respect him for working on a company, making a lot of money. That's cool. Good job, dude. But this was what was really, really shameful. Like forcing these guys up there and forcing them to be humiliated in this way while you, of course, are not on camera and don't have to listen to any of it, and you hide in your office or on your scooter on the way home. Just shameful. Yeah, the CD Projekt leadership apologized. I think it was it the CEO?
My name is Marcin Iwiński and I'm the co-founder of CD Projekt. When I started CD Projekt 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When CD Projekt Red, the game development part of CD Projekt, was born, it added something important to that principle, the ambition to make the best games in the world. It became our mission and something that guided us up until now.
So he literally, as co-founder of the studio, got on camera and said, I'm going to face the music. We're going to talk about this. We're going to deal with it. Because I think that's what a real leader does. But instead, the other guys hid in his office and sent the other guys to face the music for him. You know, but how can only be one person responsible if a good bunch of the art team from Bungie followed the artist years before that happened? My understanding is that, for one, the guys in the art team were following many people and many different artists, hundreds or thousands of them across social media. You see artwork you like, you follow it, you continue on. And it's probably true of a lot of people that, you know, you follow a lot of people on social media. You might not even remember who they are because you followed them once 5 years ago, and then that's that. Is it a good look? No, but doesn't mean that they were like at the studio. They had 4 people with the anti-real stuff pulled up and they were copying it. I don't personally think so. I think most likely what happened is that it probably was somebody who had a sheet of anti-real stuff, copy and pasted a bunch of it. They said it was put into like a decal book or a decal sheet or something. They said basically a texture pack that they use to make the game assets. And then they used that for the next handful of years while making the game, sprinkling that stolen asset all over the place, not realizing, you know, the future artists not realizing that that was using stolen artwork. And I'm somebody that said I think Anti-Real should have gotten an attorney and should have filed an actual lawsuit. My understanding is Anti-Real settled with them and got to some deal. I think that personally, from my perspective, was a mistake. I think Anti-Real could have been set for several lifetimes, could have gotten a scooter probably out of it, but you know, I think there absolutely is legal grounds for a serious lawsuit. I'm not saying there isn't, but I think the claim from the investigation that they released the results of was that it was an artist who passed off all this work as their own, left the company later, but their work was continued to be used for years after that. Who knows?
He took my thing.